I think we can bring in Catherine Haddon from the Institute of Government, who's joining our discussion. Catherine, nice to have you with us. Can we talk about one of the points that Sue Gray makes in her report, that the number of staff working in number 10 Downing Street has steadily increased in recent years. In terms of size, scale and range of responsibility, it's now more akin to a small government department than purely a dedicated Prime Minister's office. But the structure, she said, has not changed to recognise that. Now, in the Commons today, he said he was going to institute an office of the Prime Minister rather than an institute, an office of 10 Downing Street. What is the difference?
Well, I mean, that's the big question we're still waiting to hear, because on the one level, it's a bit of a name change. It's currently called the Prime Minister's Office. It's part of the Cabinet Office, is the sort of overarching department. And I mean, it has changed, but this has been a sort of 20, 30-year change in terms of the nature of number 10. It was certainly a considerable size under Tony Blair. What's difficult, though, in thinking about this is the reason why all of this. None of it's particularly new. Number 10 is very different from other departments because it has a larger proportion of political appointments in it. And a lot of those appointments, it can be very different units. When you're talking about policy units, comms units, you know, they're not integrated necessarily in the same way that you would see in other departments. And a lot of the time they're looking as much to the Conservative Party when they're political appointments as they are to the sort of internal workings of the government. So it's hard to say that this is a new thing that you can therefore sort of say intrinsically that's what led to this. It's certainly,
I mean, she did say that a lot of them had spilled out into the garden, which she said in her report was a healthier environment, and they were grateful for that. I'm not making excuses in any shape or form for the behaviour. I think we just made that clear with the Conservative MP we've just spoken to. But is there something in the way that Downing Street is structured, and is it fit for purpose, or is it just overcrowded? And frankly, they should be moved somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it was a valid point to talk about, you know, the fact that it's a home as well as a working office. I think, I mean, the fact that one of the events that we're talking about, you remember that picture of the Prime Minister and others sitting in the garden, they said that was a work meeting, they did have drinks, but that I think isn't one of the ones that the police are looking into. So there clearly was a blurring of the boundaries. But what's more difficult when it comes to how much this is down to number 10 and its sort of working practices is where she talks about confused sort of leadership of who was in charge. And she, without naming names, says that senior people should have taken responsibility for decisions. And that's because you have all of these different units who aren't necessarily all in tune with each other, and there isn't a sort of clear hierarchy of who's ultimately taking the decision. But that stems from the fact that it is almost akin to a court. It reflects the Prime Minister, it reflects their working practices. And if they have lots of people vying with each other for control, you end up in this kind of situation. So it's not right to just say it's down to sort of long-standing problems with number 10. There is something about each number 10 under every Prime Minister works differently.